Deadlines are a weird word because they have the word dead in them.
Finish lines are launch lines, whatever you
Yes.
want to call it.
Uh, I am super disciplined about deadlines. I have never missed a deadline
Mm.
because I just decided that some people need that tension that comes from being 5 minutes late. I abhor that. I want to go nowhere near that. So for me, it's fuel. For other people, it might be turbo fuel because they need that 5 minute over thing. But there are other people who it completely destroys their work. So you got to figure out how do you engage with that. But goals is a different thing. So I was talking to somebody, I wish I could give them credit, who was explaining to me that goals are externally focused. And this is one of the things that led to me writing about it in the book. Meaning, if you say, my goal is to be a millionaire, that isn't up to you. It's only partly from you. And the rest of it is luck. And so if you're going to say, I'm a good person because I'm lucky, and I'm a bad person because I'm unlucky, now you're really in trouble. Instead, what we need are practices that we call our thing, that thing we call our goal is, I'm going to be the kind of person that ships this much work each day, that gets out of bed at this time, that manages their expenses so they're always 1/3 of, I mean, you can make a list of things that are completely under your control. Call those your goals and wipe out anything that involves fish, anything that involves something external happening that makes you feel lucky.
Mm. So I'm hearing you say focusing more on the things you can control daily, the habits, the
Correct.
practices, the actions, your energy, way of being, your compassion daily, as opposed to the end result.
Right. And let's get back to where we started, which is the reason people don't do that is because they don't want to hear from their other voice. They don't do that because they don't want to be on the hook. It is easier to catastrophize. It is easier to say I'm distracted. It is easier to say, oh, the world is way too whatever. All of those are external things that let you off the hook. And what I remember is I was born a year and a half before the Cuban Missile Crisis, right? The world is really in trouble in 2020, but the world was 10 minutes away from being gone in 1962. And so the question is, how did we get from that to Neil Armstrong walking on the moon 7 years later? We didn't do it by saying, well, we can't because Russia could end everything in any minute. We said, well, if Russia's going to end everything in any minute, we might as well send someone to the moon. And my friend Roz Zander helped me learn the difference between but and. So here we go. If you go on a long planned vacation and it's raining, you could say, I'm on vacation, but it's raining. Doesn't that suck? Or you could say, I'm on vacation and it's raining. And the and leaves room for you to say, so I can take a cooking lesson. So I can have some quiet time with my spouse. So I can figure out how to work for social justice. All of those things happened because it's raining. And so, yeah, it's raining right now. It's really bad. And you can do something. You can't fix everything, but you can make one person better.
Mm-hmm. What are the habits that you believe would support more creatives if they did these habits on a daily basis, from your 30 plus years of experience of what's worked for you and what you've seen other people you've studied do? What are those few habits you think could really help them further their inner happiness and hopefully accelerate the luck on the outside as well?
Yeah. So we have to not fool ourselves into getting hooked on the external. That we'll pretend we're not, but deep down we are. And so, Chögyam Trungpa Rinpoche said, the bad news is we are falling and falling and falling. And the good news is there's nothing to hang on to. And as soon as you acknowledge that there's nothing to hang on to, it gets so much easier to fall.
You just let go and you don't have to keep trying to grab for something.
Right. And so it's the grabbing is the biggest thing. I write in the book a little bit about Julia Cameron's morning pages. Most people don't really understand how they work. You're not supposed to get up and write 3 pages of good prose. You're not supposed to get up and write 3 pages of interesting things. You're simply supposed to get up and write 3 pages, period, about anything. Junk, garbage, cruft, get it off your chest. Doesn't matter. Just put it down. Because As soon as you do, for the rest of the day, if you try to bring it up again, your subconscious says, I already wrote that down. I don't need to revisit that. It's taken care of. I wrote it down. I've discharged that. And so part of what it means to have a practice is the practice defines who you are. If you want to be a runner, the best thing to do is go run every day. If you run every day for 30 days, you're a runner. You don't have to subscribe to Runner's World. You don't have to have fancy equipment. You just have to run every day. If you want to be a writer, you have to write every day. And you don't have to show it to anybody. You simply have to do it. And not showing it to people lets you off the hook at some level, but at least you can see yourself as that kind of person. And then the step after that, which I'm a huge fan of, and the internet makes this easier than ever, is publish it anonymously. I think you should have a daily blog, but don't put your name on it. And after you've written 30 or 40 entries of your daily blog or made 5 or 6 episodes of your podcast, you're going to want to put your name on it. And then you can. But begin with, and if your name's not on it, it's so delicious because there's no upside and there's no downside. So you're simply doing it, and that's all you're going to get out of it, is that you did it.
Yeah. I want to ask you about money for a second, because I think it's a topic that a lot of creatives shy away from. And I think this will actually might be some of the most powerful stuff people hear is around the topic of money. You've been financially successful. You launched a business 30 years ago that you sold and exited. You've had, many hits in your books and businesses. You've made money as a creative. It's fair to say that. What should creatives be thinking about in terms of what if they want to create great work, but also they want to be rich? They want to make millions. They want to, for the heck of it, to support their family, their lifestyle. They want to make money.
Yeah.
What should they be thinking about in terms of art and money and marrying the both without it feeling bad or icky or I'm selling myself in a bad way to make money? How can they approach it mentally so that it doesn't cripple them, but they achieve the results they want?
My answer may surprise some people, but here we go. The odds that you will make a lot of money doing exactly what you want are 0 to a rounding error, 0. It is possible to make a lot of money. It is easier now for people of privilege to do it than most any other time in history because of the network effect, because of the power of software, because of tools that give you reach to millions of people. The way you make a lot of money is you figure out what people with money want to spend that money on to solve their problem now. And you go solve that problem. And then over time, you amplify their need and you let them do it again. That is how everybody, with few exceptions, who has made a lot of money has done it. Those people don't get to say, oh, but I also have this idea and I need to express it because I think it's generous. Those are different things. And only in the last 100 years has it even been conceivable that you could get paid money to do what you love. This is a brand new idea. Mm-hmm. So I am in favor of doing what you love and charging for it if you can, because it holds you responsible, puts you on the hook, creating tension, serving people you want to serve. And maybe you'll get paid a little bit. But if you want to make a lot of money, listen to the market and show up to the market with something the market wants to buy, because you don't get to insist that the market is wrong when you're asking the market to pay you something.
Right. You either need to become so desirable in the thing that you're creating that there's limited quantity or something that there's attention around it and people want it. Like right now, Pokemon cards are going crazy right now for whatever reason, and they're selling for hundreds of thousands of dollars because there's a limited amount and people want it, but they've created that desire. Who would have thought that a couple pieces of cardboard would be worth that much money? And baseball cards are going through the roof. I think one sold for $4 million a couple months ago for the record sale of a baseball card. Crazy. And they've created the desire for it. Who would have thought that that'd be something you could do? What are some personal practices on managing money that you've learned as an artist throughout the years and a creative that you would prescribe for people, whether you learned the hard way or you had some good advice from someone? So
it's pretty simple. Money is a story. And anybody who's listening to this has more technology than the last king of France did. That we tell ourselves this story of sufficiency or insufficiency that has been amplified by the marketing industrial complex to make us buy more stuff or work more hours. So the first most important thing by far is to get your story straight. And I have worked with and known people, friends, who were addicted to debt. They needed debt to go to work. They needed debt to feel like there was a fire under them. And I knew other people who I worked with at Yahoo and stuff who no amount of money was going to be enough. And I got to tell you, after you have $100 million or $200 million, you don't need $400 million. You can't even tell the difference. Right? That didn't matter. They're hooked on it. Every year when Forbes publishes their billionaires list, they make hundreds of people really sad because those people move down. Like, really? You're a billionaire. Why are you sad about that? It's absurd. So getting your story straight is super important. And then the second part is debt is really, really a problem because debt compounds faster than interest does by a lot. And so what you do, if you're serious about living the life of the creator that isn't getting paid well, is you've got to dramatically cut your expenses. Cut them lower than you would think. Brown rice, black beans, sleeping on a friend's couch. Do that for 2 years until you have enough money in the bank that you will never need to be in debt. Pay those dues early, and then you get the freedom to do the work you want to do. I paid those dues for 7 years. And I wouldn't trade it because what I learned there is I'm not entitled to do any project I want whenever I want. And as soon as I didn't owe anybody anything, I had the freedom to say, I'm going to make this. Whereas if you owe Chase Manhattan Bank or you owe Goldman Sachs or you owe Wells Fargo a monthly payment and you're paying your student loans and you're paying this, well, then it's really easy to hide from the creative work that you want to do.
Yeah, you're a prisoner to that debt.
The third thing is there are very few shortcuts with money. If someone says you can get rich quick, you should run away.
What's the biggest mistake you've made in your last 30 years as a creative, whether in business or art or a relationship that happened that ended up being the greatest mistake you made? And because it taught you a lesson, it got you out of something, it made you more humble, whatever that might be. What's that big failure, mistake, thing that happened that was actually a great blessing for you?
Well, the one that I eat out on a lot is I saw the World Wide Web before anybody, and I said it was stupid, and that it was slow, and there was no business model, and it was, we'll stick with Prodigy and AOL. Thank you very much. So that cost like $40 billion. And once you make a $40 billion mistake, you start to forgive yourself about other mistakes that involve money, right? But I don't beat myself up about that at all because it worked out just great for me. And if I owned half of Yahoo, I don't think my life would have been better. I think the mistakes have been when I have had a creative instinct on how I can make things better, and I blinked. And I said, I don't trust myself enough to lean into this one. And maybe the journey's too long, or maybe it's too fraught, or maybe I'm worried that I'll get blamed. And so I didn't contribute in the way I could have when I could have. And it's that thing of omission again. Now, maybe that's just a story I tell myself to get me going again. But this moment in time, so fraught, is also going to be a moment when a lot of great stuff is going to get built. And you can wait it out, but then we won't have your great stuff.
I tell people when I'm coaching people that I'm kind of harsh, but I say you're doing a disservice to the people that need your work. You're doing a disservice to your friends, your family, humanity. Like if you have a gift that you can share and can help people and pick them off the ground and you're afraid, that's doing a disservice. You're doing more harm than good by your insecurity of not shipping.
Right. And you're also eating yourself up alive. And this is where the reassurance cycle is so toxic. If you are seeking reassurance, it's because you're trying to put out a fire inside of you that can only be put out by actually making things better.
What 3 skills should we acquire to live a better life?
Number 1 is the skill of possibility, of seeing that things could be better. Number 2, the skill of empathy, practical empathy, of understanding people don't know what you know, don't want what you want, don't see what you see. And then the third one is